Welcome to Bridging Generations in Sales and Outreach. This is where leaders come and learn to be visible, relevant, connected, and most importantly, drive income by reputation. Uh, my name is Butch Nicholson. I'll be your host today. Appreciate everyone who's listening, whether you're listening live or listening afterwards or watching our YouTube channel. So one of the things that's in our tagline is drive revenue through reputation. And the guest I have on today is certainly a man with a reputation. And I know Joe has clients all over the country, but he and I live in the same area. And in this area, people might not know Joe Noonan, but they know Coach Joe. So when people know you just by Coach Joe, you know you've got a good reputation or a really bad one. But in his case, it's a really good one. And I probably knew who Joe was a couple of years before we actually met. So it's really an honor to have him on the show today. And I appreciate you being here, Joe.
Thank you, Butch. And I wanted to wish you a very happy 29th birthday. Today's your birthday.
Golly, it's my 41st, 39th birthday.
Well, happy 70th. You look great.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. So, Joe, let's hop right in. You had. I'm just going to hop into your story, and you can fill in the before if you want. But you had a tremendous change in your business and in your life in 2014.
Yeah, I had a marketing agency. That was my second business, and it was really a fun business. It got very demanding, just the number of hours and other commitments that I had with my family and my children. So in 2014, my first wife, Carol, she passed away very suddenly. She was here one day and gone the next. And it really changed not only my life, but the lives of my children. And so I decided that it took a little time, but in 2017, I sold that marketing agency. It was a franchise. I sold it back to the franchisor and had a 3-year buyout. But that also gave me an opportunity to start to think, right? Because God has a plan for all of us, and I wasn't quite sure where I was going, what my plan was. But I was a little worn out from still working about 60 to 70 hours a week. And I just had to make the adjustment. And that's where coaching started to rise and really become an important part of my life.
So tell us how did you get started in the coaching business? How did you decide how you were going to coach?
Yeah, it's a great question, Butch. Well, I have been playing ice hockey since I was 6 years old. And then I think it's 1997, I got certified as a level 4 USA ice hockey coach. And I loved being on the ice. I was with the Thrashers for a while, the Atlanta Thrashers and their programs, with their youth program as well. So I really, really enjoyed coaching and just seeing changes in young people, right? And when they do that, it's just so rewarding to see a young man where they, I'd teach them how to take a slap shot, and you just see this light bulb go on. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Thank you so much, Coach Joe. And then I said, well, I'd love to do that professionally. And so I got certified as a business coach in late 2017, and this is my 8th year.
So, Joe, let's talk about just a few things and some kind of wisdom that I've gotten from you and where it came from. One of my kind of pet peeves is people who say they're perfectionists. And the main reason I have a problem with that is no perfectionist has ever been able to tell me what perfection was. And so I always said, well, how are you going to get there? So talk about how you address that issue.
Sure. I work with CEOs. I work with sales leaders who are leading a team. And I also work with business owners as well as sales professionals. And the biggest challenge I see is that they're just not prepared. Planning is a big part of what we need to do professionally. And if you think about it, it just makes life so much easier. For example, church for us starts at 11 o'clock every Sunday. We leave at 10:15 so we don't feel rushed. We're there at 10:35. We're relaxed. We execute. We meet friends. We socialize. It's just, we're ready to go. And this is what we have to do in our businesses as leaders and as those that are in sales. Just have a plan. And if you have a plan, it's gonna make all the difference in the world. And the old adage is plan your work and work your plan.
Share with our audience the other thing you do on Sundays with your coaching clients.
Yes, I think accountability is a big part of what coaching and why people hire me to be their business coach. Is they need that accountability. And so I want my clients to go into every week, and it's really looking at next week, and they have to send their schedule to me by 7 p.m. And if I don't have it by 7:15, I send them a text message. Hey, Butch, I'm really excited to see your schedule for this week with your income producing activities. And then our agreed upon deadline is then 9 o'clock. And if I don't have it by 9 o'clock, the accountability piece is you owe me a $25 gift card. And I've received 17 of those. But accountability has to go both ways, right?
Oh,
So my accountability part as their coach is I have to remind them by 7:15. And if I don't, I owe you a $25 gift card. And how many gift cards do you think I've given out in 8 years as a coach?
I'll say 8.
0.
It'd be a bad example if you had to hand out one.
Well, it's interesting. I think that it's all about living what you say you're going to do. Do what you're going to do, right? And I have it in my calendar. I live by my calendar. And that's the encouragement that I would have for the audience today, whether you're a leader, whether you're in sales, or even a business owner. Put your important activities in your calendar and break it down. Really break it down to what are the most important revenue generating activities for you, for your role. And when you do that, you'll start to execute and be proactive versus reactive.
Yeah. So, Joe, I don't think I've shared this with you, but back in the day, I did a lot of training, and we had a great group of high-end financial advisors. And these were like the very best of the best. And one of the exercises we did with them is for a week, they had to write down every 15 minutes what they were going to do in the next 15 minutes. And then we had them go through, and they were A activities, B activities, C activities, D activities. But basically the A activities were things that generated revenue. And now these are the very, very best. And when they were honest and did that, and we held them accountable, take a guess on how many hours a day they were doing revenue generating activities.
I'm going to say less than 2.
About an hour and a half.
Okay. Yeah. And that's a great exercise. And I have gone through that exercise with my coaching clients as well. And the big takeaway that most clients walk away with is, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much time I'm wasting. And we have to protect our time, whether we're in sales, whether we're leaders. We have to protect our time. And a lot of leaders I work with, they talk about having an open door policy. And then they stay till 8 o'clock at night because people just keep coming in and visiting with them or talking to them. And maybe they're problem solving, or maybe they're helping them or talking about, their kids and the lacrosse tournament coming up this weekend. It's really about protecting our time as well.
Yeah. And I find myself falling into that, kind of putting out the next fire, even though it's not the most important thing.
Right. Yeah. And the other encouragement, and is one of the things I've discovered, is the biggest distraction in business today is email, right? Because people check their email 70 times a day on average. 70. Right. And so is that really income producing? Probably not. And think about maybe the last 50 emails that you've received. How many of those are drop dead urgent? Hey, Butch, I need you to do this. Not many.
Yeah, probably
So,
less than 1%.
exactly. But we feel that we have to respond to our email. So it's almost like a blackjack dealer where they put their, they wipe their hands and they go, okay, it's off my plate, back on you. And that's why I only check my email 3 times a day. I check it in the morning between 7 and 8, lunchtime, and around 4 o'clock, and generally respond. But if somebody sends me an email and they know that I'm not going to respond or I don't respond, what do you think is the next step that they're going to take? Right? They'll probably text me, give me a phone call.
Yeah, text you, then call you.
Right. Because, most of us as professionals, we're not sitting at our desk just waiting for things to happen. We're busy. And this falls back again to having a really good schedule and protecting our time. When we do that, we start to see results.
Yeah, Joe, you said what you said about next is texting and or a phone call. I've had the last several guests I've had on this show have talked about this in one way or another, and it's really for Gen Xers and baby boomers who are still active. This is something they really need to understand, as simple as it is. But each of these guests in their own way talked about you've got, in this day and time, you got to meet buyers where they are. Mm-hmm. And one of the first things that you need to do is talk with them about how they want to be communicated to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because if you don't communicate the wrong way, it doesn't send a good vibe, right? If you say, I'd like to have a phone call with you, then I understand that. I'm going to call you over the phone. If you say, send me an email, that's the best way because I'm in and out of meetings all day. Then when I check it at lunchtime, I'll be able to respond. That's okay, because if I text you and you don't want me to text you, it's not going to enhance the relationship at all. And that's where relationship selling is so important these days. Even if we go back to, if you will, old school we used to talk about features and benefits or advantages of working with me or my company. And I still see that a lot today, Butch. This is where we have to start and invest time to develop relationships, whether it's through networking events or other engagements. That's really critical to moving the needle forward in your business and really creating more opportunities. The more relationships that you have, more referral partners that you have, the more success leaders have, and the more success sales professionals will have as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Joe. You and I talked about this a bit. There's whether, if you're older, whether you like it or not, there has been a definite shift in how buyers buy. And when we started out in sales, we kind of ran the show because if somebody wanted to buy something, they had to call us to get the information. And these changed all of that. And there was a study done that said today the buyer has 75% of the information that they want to get before they want to engage with a salesperson. And know, like, and trust has always been important, but I think today it's even more important than ever because the buyer controls the journey now.
Correct. Yeah. The World Wide Web has allowed buyers to be a lot more educated even before they meet us as sales professionals. They can do their research. They know exactly what they're looking for, and it allows them to compare. So our job is to really help them understand, provide clarity, answer questions. And again, that's all done through relationship building.
Yeah, Joe, one of the, you mentioned this, and it's a pet peeve of mine. In fact, I did a LinkedIn post on it this week. And what I said was people want to know that you can solve their problem before they care how you're going to do it. And, I think 9 out of 10 times salespeople go in there and start talking about features and benefits. And it's just like saying blah, 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 if you haven't told them how you're going to solve the problem.
Right. And one of the things that I do is as a business coach is I help leaders, I help professionals really get the person across the table from them to talking about what's most important to them within the first 15 seconds of meeting them. Okay? Because when you do that, they start to feel like they're adding value, even though they're telling their story. They're telling you their pain points. And that's our job, is to be active listeners. And we have to make sure that we do a good job at that. And that's done by asking very prompting questions. Again, going back to preparation, preparing for every single meeting, every single sales call is crucial because it's going to make a difference. And the best way to do that is make sure you do that well in advance and make sure that you practice it. You practice what you preach. I don't know if you remember in the Super Bowl, Santonio Holmes, he caught a pass from Ben Roethlisberger. I believe it was 2009 to win the Super Bowl. And they practiced that numerous times. And I'll tell you how many in just a minute. But during the 2 weeks that they had to prepare for the Super Bowl, Ben Roethlisberger tells Santonio Holmes, go to the corner of the end zone, put your hands out like this. I'm going to drop the ball right in there. They practiced that 200 times. 200 times. Because they knew if it got down to one play to win the Super Bowl, that's what they were going to do. And that's exactly how they won the Super Bowl.
Yep. So how do you work with your clients on that? Do you see most people, there's a difference in understanding that's what you need to do and actually doing it. And I think a big problem salespeople have, I know I've had this problem and I have to watch myself. We love to talk. And if we're talking, we're not learning anything. We're not, again, it can just come across as blah, blah, blah. And the customer's saying, when is this guy going to quit?
Yeah. And I think body language tells a great story. Looking across the table at that person and, if they start to fold their arms, that's a sign. If they start to open their arms or get a little closer, these are buying signs. And when you can identify some of the buying signals from our prospects, it's going to make all the difference in the world. And we have to be aware of that. But we also have to be active listeners. And this is where the preparation and asking really good questions. And back to your point of, how can I solve your problem? What keeps you up at night? What are pain points that really bother you or are holding you back? What are barriers? That's something that can really help you shine as a sales professional and, quite frankly, as a leader. Because leadership, and you said this in a different way, but leadership is about how you make people feel. And quite frankly, sales is the same.
Yep. So, Joe, when I came in the business, we were real advanced. We had push button phones, but your phone calls still had to go through the switchboard to get to you. And I remember a big thing for us when office parks started. And actually, the first office park in the country was in Atlanta. It was at Druid Hills. It was Executive Park, and there's a big hotel there now. Mm-hmm. But it was the first industrial park in Atlanta. We just go to door and knock on, is the manager here? Is the owner here? And then fortunately I grew to understanding the power of referrals. But everything was face to face. I mean, you took people to athletic events or dinners or lunches or to play golf or to go to a play or a concert. And that's just not how it works anymore. And that's how we build relationships. So how do you work with your clients on building relationships, given the avenues we have to do that now?
I think LinkedIn is a great resource. Whether you have Sales Navigator or just the free basic version of LinkedIn, being able to connect on LinkedIn with our prospects can be a great resource, but it's about the mutual connection. the fact that you and I know John Rowan will help facilitate that conversation even further, because there's credibility that you know John and I know John. And that's the first thing I would say is, hey, Butch, this is Joe. You don't know me, but John Rowan wants us to connect. Oh, well, immediately you go from a 2 of, hey, you have a phone call from this Joe guy to, oh, you know John Rowan. I know John Rowan. Credibility goes up from a 2 to an 8. And then the conversation will start to evolve from there. And then you would probably come back and say, hey, tell me a little bit about the reason that you're calling me. Hey, I'm a business coach, and John said that you're struggling with your revenue, with your sales, and that I might be able to help. I'd love to offer you a complimentary discovery call. What are your thoughts? Makes all the difference in the world, is that mutual connection.
So I got a question for you, Joe. I know you have clients, people you work with all over the country. Did you fly out there the first time you ever met them and knock on the door and say, hey, I'm Joe, I need to see Bob?
No, a lot of it is referral based. And I've actually coached people in Lithuania, in Estonia. So I've coached people worldwide, which really is fun. In fact, there's a gentleman that I coached in Estonia, and we were talking about referrals, asking your current clients, who else do you know that would really benefit working with me and with my company? You've seen the solutions that we've been able to provide for you. Who do you know? And asking that powerful question can actually make that point of entry really easy, reaching out to that competitor, if you will, because people bounce around from companies, and the average millennial stays at a company for 2.3 months, 2 years, 3 months. That's the average that they stay. So, staying with a company for 20, 30, 40 years, you don't hear that much. So this is actually a great opportunity to ask for referrals. And when I work with my clients, we have 2 calls per month. And on one of those calls, we're going to talk not only about referrals and how to ask for them, but we're going to build referral systems so they have their phone ringing based on those mutual connections, based on having really added value to their current clients. I've had so many of my clients say, hey, I've been leading this team. I'd love for you to start working and training my team. Would you be willing to do that? And of course, that makes the job a lot easier because I'm not out there prospecting. I just pick up new clients. So it's about serving others.
Right. Yeah. And I think one thing, I know there's some people that really don't like LinkedIn, and I'm not going to try to convince anybody that doesn't like it to do it. But I really believe if you understand LinkedIn, it's a great way for connections, because I can find, if I don't know you, but I may find 5 people that are connected to you that know you. And that's easier than me calling a bunch of people to see if anybody knows Joe.
Right. Yeah. And I think LinkedIn posts can really add value to what you offer. And I say that for all of us, whether we're leaders, whether we're in sales, business owners. Sharing your value proposition online is, quite frankly, free advertising. One of the things that I love to do, in fact, I had lunch with a financial advisor yesterday, is I take a picture of the 2 of us, I post it on LinkedIn, and all I do is talk about them, right?
Yep.
Does that add value to that relationship? Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's about how we serve. People want to know. They want to know a little bit about us personally, because they can see us professionally. Oh, you've got a nice jacket on and your, button-down shirt and so on. But tell me a little bit about your family. This is becoming very, very important in today's sales cycle, sales process, because people, as always, work with people that they know, like, and trust. And that's why, for me, putting out, I think video is a great tool. Using videos on LinkedIn to communicate in 1 minute or less people will watch a 1-minute video versus spending 45 seconds to read a post.
Yep.
Video is powerful. And I encourage all my clients to do it.
Yeah, Joe, you shared with me a story about Chad. Could you share that story here?
Sure. Chad's he's an insurance salesman. And one of the things that Chad was really struggling with, and this was during COVID, is he was working from home. He had his little daughter, Quinn, who was about 2 years old. And then all of a sudden, his wife came in and said, "Here, your turn." And it was right in the middle of time that he had blocked off for prospecting. So he shared with me that he was a little frustrated with that situation. And my recommendation to him, and this is something that my wife and I do, is we sit down on Sunday night at 6 o'clock, whether it's over a glass of wine or just at the kitchen table. What's going on this week? I want to just be transparent with you. Tell me what's going on. Did I do anything to make you mad? Did I say the wrong thing? But what the bottom line was for Chad and his wife, they literally put together, or if you will, compared their schedules for the next week. And it really added value for both of them. And Chad got really emotional on our next coaching call. And he said, "Coach Joe," he goes, "I know you're not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You're my business coach, but I think you saved my marriage." And I was so happy for Chad, right? Because for him, it was just communication. And that's what we have to do, whether it's with our spouse or with our clients. It's communication. I mean, Butch, have you ever had anybody say to you, "You're over communicating with me"?
No.
Yeah. And if that comes about, that's okay. Then you back off a little bit. But communication is really the key. I think it's important for us as sales professionals, as leaders, is to communicate often, communicate on a regular basis. Communication is powerful.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So, Joe, I want you to talk about this for a minute, please, because you shared some things with me that I think would be of real value to our audience. And what you said is that mindset is more important than tools. And I think I know 90% of salespeople are always looking for the next great tool. And that just doesn't work the way a mindset change does.
Yeah, you're right, Butch.
Well, I got that from you, so you're right.
Okay. Well, it is your birthday. I was trying to give you full credit for that, but all right.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, actually, attitude is everything, right? The old Nike commercials talks about that. But I'm a firm believer that when you hang out with positive people, you're going to have positive results. If you hang out with negative people, you know what's going to happen there. But this is where getting back to basics is so important, because having a great mindset can be all the difference in the world. One of the very first question I ask most people when I meet them is, share good news. What? They're caught off guard a little bit versus, what do you do? What's new in your life? I ask people for good news because I want to know what really, truly, I want to know what's good news. It could be personal, it could be professional. And I do that on my coaching calls, and it actually sets the tone for positivity moving forward. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. You always hear, I always hear people talk about gratitude lists.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a great making a gratitude list person, but I am good at being grateful. And I can get out of a really bad space by just thinking of all that's good. Where we just live where we live puts us in the 99 percentile of wealth in the world. So we really don't have, we all think we have these terrible problems that aren't really so terrible.
Right. We are. We're very blessed. And, I mentioned it earlier. I'm a very faithful person. My faith is important to me. And God has a plan for all of us. And when God took Carol from me and my kids back in 2014, I wasn't quite sure what the next step was going to be. But I've been blessed with meeting my second wife, Debbie, and we just celebrated our 4-year wedding anniversary. And,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Having somebody like her as a rock in my life is important. And I think we all need that. Professionals hire me as their business coach for the very same reasons. They hire me to hold them accountable. They hire me to give them a different view of what they're currently doing. Of course, we know the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And this is where I like to, if you will, incentivize, teach, coach my clients to do things differently, because everybody's doing the same thing over and over again, and you have to do it differently. And do we have time for a quick story?
Sure, please.
Awesome. So I want to share a story about John Gilmore. John is a mortgage loan officer with Truist. And he said, Joe, my sales have been flat for the last 4 years. He goes, I'm still making a great living, but he goes, I want to do better. And he goes, I just don't know what to do. So as a mortgage loan officer, we spent a lot of time on his presentation. John calls himself he's an introverted professional. Yeah, he's a little on the shy side, but all of a sudden, when we talked about confidence, John has totally changed. And the biggest change that he made, and I talked about videos earlier, is that he now starts to send videos to both people in the transaction on a real estate deal. The buyer, well, it's the selling agent, the buying agent, and of course, the person that's buying the home. And he started to do videos. Hey, I just wanted to let you know that you wanted to be approved for $400,000. Here's your good news. You're approved for $510,000. That made all the difference in the world for John. And he's up 54%. He's grown his business 54% in the last 18 months. I'm really proud of John Gilmore.
That's a great story. So, Joe, one of the things I've found, and this has been true for me too, I believe as a business owner or as, just a salesperson, we can fall in the trap, and Mr. Gilmore could have done this too after being flat for 4 years. I just got to do more. I just got to do more. And I hear sales leaders that aren't meeting their team's not meeting the quota. We just got to do more. And I say, well, why is doing more of what's not working going to help you?
Right. And that's a question I get often as a coach. And they say, well, what can you do to change that? And one of my favorite sayings is activity influences results. Okay. So if you're in sales and you make 2 outbound calls, you have 2 opportunities. If you make 27 outbound calls, you now have 27 opportunities. Okay. Activity influences results, but it has to be the right activity. And this is where I help a lot of professionals really be more specific, to be more terrific when it comes to having a great plan. Again, going back to the schedule is we're going to focus on those most important income producing activities for you. Are there other activities that you have to accomplish during the week? Absolutely. But there's a time and a place to do it. If you focus on what's most important, what's going to generate revenue, right, for sales professionals or as a leader, what is your motivation to help keep your team moving forward? And sometimes it's a different voice. I often come in and do workshops. I travel all over the United States and do workshops. And I have to apologize, Butch, but I only have 170 topics that I can speak on. So I'll try and be better, okay?
So I can have you on the show 170 times?
Well, 169 more, so sure. But that's really taking a deep dive. I had a financial advisor firm bring me in recently to talk about time management, really going back to the schedule. and talking about having a really good schedule, setting them up with accountability partners internally really made a difference for them. So, those are areas that can really make a difference in sales, is thinking about that and really looking at activity influences results.
Excuse me. Yeah, we could have a whole nother show on the myth of managing time, but we won't go. We won't go there today.
All right.
Uh, so Joey, as we kind of wrap up here, what is the what are 2 or 3 takeaways you would like the audience to really get?
Yeah, I think it's about being clear, right? Having a clear path every single week and being proactive versus reactive. And that's what a good schedule can do for you. Another one would be accountability partners. That's what I am as a business coach to my coaching clients, whether it's a CEO, whether it's a sales leader, a business owner. I've even helped people sell their business because there's so many things that they just are not aware of. And quite frankly, I spend about 2 hours preparing for every 1 hour coaching call that I have with my clients, because it's about execution. It's about giving them new ideas to take action. And when they take action, it's about doing that. And it's not about being perfect, right? You had mentioned that at the very beginning. It's not perfection. It's about progress. Not everything's going to be perfect. So go ahead and just, you know what? If you make those 27 calls, you're going to fall on your face a few times, and that's okay. But it's activity, because if you didn't make those calls, you don't have opportunities. And that's my encouragement today. And if they're struggling with that, I'd love to have a conversation.
One quick question, Joe, that I ask everybody, and your answer can't be hire a coach, because you already pulled that one on me. But besides hiring a coach, what would Joe today tell Joe 20 years ago?
Yeah. Wow. Gosh, that was my answer. All right. I think planning, not just showing up at your desk, but planning for the week, planning for the month. And that's one of the activities that I do with my clients, is not only encourage them and coach them on how to plan and execute as leaders, as sales professionals, as business owners, but I really think that if you start to plan and really look at it on an annual basis and say, these are the things that I have to do. Something very simple is you have to go to the dentist, should go to the dentist at least twice a year for cleanings. Put that in your calendar, because when it comes up and you start to look a week or two or even a month ahead, you can plan for it. So when you plan, you will be successful. And it actually makes life a lot more easier and less stressful.
Yeah, that when you plan, you'll be successful seems so simple.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the simplest things are the best things. And if you're not motivated by you'll be successful if you plan, just be motivated by if you don't plan, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah, because flying by the seat of your pants, if you really look at that historically, look at the results that you get, right? Again, going back to the analogy of leaving 45 minutes before church starts. I just like to get there and relax and so on. That's why I have my clients send their schedule to me. They know Monday morning when they get to their desk exactly what they're going to do at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And quite frankly, I learned that from this guy. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Elon Musk. Right?
I think I've heard of it. I've heard of him.
He's a pretty successful guy. He runs $3 billion companies. And if you were to ask Elon Musk, hey, Elon, what are you doing Thursday at 11 o'clock? He can tell you. So that's really, really important. And make sure you execute and protect your time as well.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you being on the show today. Where can people reach you if they want to talk to you? Hopefully we boosted your reputation some more today.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm just honored to be your guest on your birthday. It's an honor. So yes, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. send me a direct message. And it's interesting. I offer a discovery call at no fee. I do it for CEOs. I do it for sales leaders, business owners, anybody that wants to take advantage of it. And I often get the question, sometimes even from my peers, why do you give somebody an hour of your time for free? Most people walk away with 3 to 5 actionable strategies. And I always tell them, I'm not going to sell your coaching, but I want you to think about what you've learned in the last 60 minutes of us being together. And I want you to think about that. And I'm going to encourage you to invest in coaching. And that's what professional coaching is, Butch. It's an investment. And the great thing about it, it's 100% tax deductible in all 50 states. It really is. So people don't recognize that. So if you make $100,000 a year and coaching costs $20,000, then you only get taxed on that $80,000. So feel free to reach out to me via email. It's on the screen at the bottom, or send me a direct message on LinkedIn, because I'm here to serve you and your network with excellence.
Thanks, Joe. I just have to say this. So if you give them 3 actionable items, that leaves 170 something more that you can give them after they become a client.
Correct. Yep. We have a discussion principle every time we get together, whether it's answering objections, leading during uncertain times. We talk about culture often. That's where hearing something different and taking action as leaders, as sales professionals, will make a difference in their business.
Great. Well, Joe, I appreciate it. And, what I say, what our company says is that reputation drives revenue. And Joe is a perfect example of that with the great reputation he has. And I know that his mindset isn't, I'm going to get a great reputation to drive revenue. But when you have a great reputation, that's what happens.
Well, thank you, Butch. I'm humbled to be here today, and I welcome inquiries from the audience. And if I can help in any way, I would love to do so.
Thanks, Joe. Just remember, this isn't like this. We're not talking about starting over. If you've been in sales or you've been a CFO, founder for a long time, it's not about starting over. It's about evolving. And you can use people like Joe with his great reputation for success to help you evolve. So I appreciate you being here this week. We'll be back next week at 10 o'clock. If you want to catch any of the, I think it's our 33rd or 4th episode. All those are on LinkedIn, and they're all on YouTube. So